Okay, so we're coming back after Pesach. We're still at the very beginning of Kuf Pei Tes in his Niddah. Kuf Pei Tes is a long Siman, and it contains the various types of vesatot, the various types of periods that one may encounter, the women, I should say, can encounter. Main difference between the vesatot is that some of them are kavua and some of them are not kavua. Kavua meaning regular, fixed, and some that are not kavua. And as a result of some being not so kavua, a woman has to therefore be choishesh, we said, for 3 days. For the most part, a woman who's not regular, even though we will see that there's something called semi-regular, that she will not see before 28 days. But she can see any time after that. That helps. That is helpful. That's called a semi-regular period. Before 28 days, she will not see. Afterwards, it varies. The more regular period, of course, is that she anticipates every so often. Now, that every so often does not necessarily mean every so many days. It could also be on a particular day of the month. Perhaps today we'll go over the few seifim inside, because we just reviewed a little bit on the surface the various differences as they're mentioned in the Gemara, some of the examples in the various shitas. But perhaps if we see it inside, we'll get a better understanding of what these periods are all about and how they recur, if they recur.
Question about
yes.
The day of the month. Does it matter, can it be there?
So as we said last time, we're talking about the Hebrew calendar day of the month.
What happens when like that?
That doesn't make a difference. No. As we will see, sometimes there can be interruptions, yeah. We can attribute that to all kinds of things. And that is why this is complex. What does a woman do now that she's been having somewhat of a regular period and it's thrown off? What is she going to be choishesh from now on for the next month? And the halacha is, since we already brought it up, is that even if she has a veset kavua, if she changes 1 month, the following month she now has to be concerned for 2 dates. Her regular date and the new date that has come up as a result of the change. And instead of getting too much into that, we'll wait till we get to it actually in the mechaber as to what happens or what is she supposed to do when there is a change. In other words, all along everything was okay, and now there's a change. Now what do we do? But before that, we need to make it very clear that a woman who does not have a Vesa Kavua has to be concerned about 3 days. One is the Yom HaChodesh, the last day of the month that she saw it, the Hebrew month. She has to be concerned with the Yom HaHaflaga. In other words, the lapse of time that has transpired from her last period, from her last 2 periods. They could have been 28 days apart. She has to be concerned about that. There's a possibility it may recur based on that amount of time. Or it could be Oino Beinonis. And Oino Beinonis is, I guess you can call it the average, that if there's no really any Vesa, the Chachamim figured, well, she should see it, as long as she's not in the menopause stage of her life, she should see once a month her period. And if it hasn't happened yet, it may happen by the day 30. In other words, once a month. That's called Oino Beinonis. Now, before we get into a little bit more of the details, I was reviewing the last shir, and I noticed that perhaps some points were not clear enough. And one of them is Ilan's question about whether these harchaka, in other words, as soon as the time comes, or the veset, if this is the oraisa or not. You recall that, Ilan. And the pasuk says v'izartem, and we learned that, and we covered that in the very, very beginning of the shir, and I just did recall by heart all the shitas, but I did remember that there were various shitas, and even though we hold it's a derabanan, it's important to point out that that's not so pasha, that there are some that hold that the hizartem, in other words, that Am Yisrael is mitzuvah to stay away from their wives, the men from the women, during the time of the oina, or during the time of the vest. Some say it's a deraisa, some say it's a derabanan, some say it's an asmachta. In other words, yes, you can learn that out from a pasuk, that was the intent, right? We hold vestas in general, the whole concept of veset is derabanan, which means that there are certain leniencies as a result of it. Nonetheless, the harchaka itself on that day, or at the very least on the oina, on that time, whether it's night or day, when we know for sure it's coming, that could be, according to some, a deraisa, at the very least on that moment. Question is, how about a little bit before? Well, that of course is not a deraisa, because the Or Zarua is a chumrah, as we said. So there are those who hold it's It's the whole thing is the Rabbanan, those that hold that it's the right. The rice, of course, a woman is metame, actually feels the blood coming down. Question is, well, does she have to do anything beforehand? Most women, I think, feel or know it's coming. They're not necessarily feeling the blood, but they feel it's coming. And that should be enough of a sign for the husband to stay away. As a woman, of course, should be responsible and keep a chart, keep track, have a good idea of how her period is. She has to manage it. And the two of them have to be aware of it. This is a very important, very serious area of Taras HaMishpacha, that the two are somewhat familiar with what to expect when it comes around, that time of the month. So that was point number one. V'hizartem. Yes, according to some it's the Raisa, according to others it's the Rabbanan, to stay away. The other point was that needed a little bit more clarification was Oina Beinonis. Oina Beinonis, which is every 30 days, one of those 3 days that a woman who does not have a Vesed Kavua has to watch out for. Now, the majority of Rishonim, same thing with the Taz and the Krisi Places, they hold that it's 30 days from the last period. Shach says there's no such thing. He says that it's the Oina Beinonis is the Yom HaChodesh. Now, what's interesting about this Shach is that he makes it clear that it does not make a difference whether it's a full month, right, or if it's not a full month. As you know, some months are full and some months are not. Some months are 29 days, some are 30 days. But it makes no difference. He says it's going to be the day of the month. So what really happens is that you do have actually, one day after another. If you're accounting for the Yom HaChodesh, the day of the month, and you're accounting for Oina Beinonis, you're basically accounting for 2 days next to each other, pretty much, that one may have to be concerned with. There is an opinion that it's on the 31st day, but the halacha we hold that it's 30 days from the last time that she saw. Now this is important, this Oina Beinonis is important for other reasons as well. Who has to be concerned with Oina Beinonis? A woman who does not have a Vesed Kavua. Because one who does have a Vesed Kavua doesn't need Oina Beinonis. So, what happens if a woman, for example, saw more than once in a month? We covered this last time. Let's say she saw on the first day of Nisan, and she saw on the 20th of Nisan. Well, most poskim hold that she has to be concerned about the first day of Iyar, because that's the day of the Chodesh. Since she does not have a Vesed Kavua, in order for her not to be any more concerned for that day of the Chodesh, the first day of the month, it has to be that on Aleph Iyar, she doesn't see anything. Once. As long as she didn't see once, remember she's a Vesed She'ena Kavua, a Vesed She'ena Kavua is Ne'ekar, is approved even with once not seeing on that day. Great. On Aleph Iyar, she has to watch out. Nothing happens, well, from now on, Aleph Siman is not a problem. Whenever she does end up seeing again, that will be her new Yom HaChodesh, of course. But the original one, the Aleph, no more an issue. So here she saw Aleph Nisan, she saw Chof Nisan, she has to be Choshesh for Aleph Iyar. Now, does she have to be Choshesh for Oina Beinonis? Oina Beinonis is the 30th day. I think the Taz is one of the only ones that says yes. Most Achronim say no. Oina Beinonis is just a safety valve, you can call it that. If she did not see by then, we're choishish still that she might see on the 30th day. But she saw. She just saw on the 20th. So, some might say, yes, there are flukes, She might see again. But this is the way most Achronim, most poskim handle this, that she will no longer have to be choishish for Oina Beinonis. She just saw it on the 20th of the month. Why worry on the 30th, right? She saw it. So the question came up, and we really didn't tackle it, and I'd rather wait with that, because that's really Sif Yud Gimel. What about the Haflaga? The Haflaga is where things become a little bit complicated. It was a big machlokes and difference. There's new Haflagas apparently, because you had an Haflaga between day 1 and day 20. Instead of having her original Haflaga that may have been 28 or 30 days. So how are we gonna treat Haflaga now? See what I mean? So that I'd rather leave for next time, or whenever we get to see, that's in Sifiyot Gimel. In other words, is it possible for the shorter haflaga to interfere and cut through and be mevatel the old, bigger haflaga? Because here we have 20 days. Is that possible? That's one of the questions. Does one haflaga, a smaller haflaga, a bigger haflaga wouldn't be a problem. Bigger haflaga, great. Replaces the old haflaga. But here you have a short, an interruption. Are we going to modify her haflaga too? So that's a whole separate question. Yeah.
Given what we
Yes.
often
Uh-huh.
women going to
Sure.
see blood, part of the normal cycle.
Right. That's
How
very
much of this do we concern ourselves as compared to?
very, very good point. How much do we concern ourselves about the science? We do, because the poskim write that when it comes to haflaga versus additional veset within a veset, this is what they would be called veset betoch veset, we would give more credibility to haflaga because it's more common. In other words, it's more common that she should have a haflaga of so many days between her original period and her next period than to have more blood. That's what this is. More blood in between. In other words, should we concern ourselves that this is really establishing a new veset, betoch veset? This is part of the question that I'd rather leave for later on, because it's a whole sugya in itself. Can that happen, that a woman could be a veset betoch a veset? Or is it more likely, or statistically, which one is more likely? Haflaga, a regular haflaga, is of course the more common one. We do go with the more common one when we have that kind of a question. But
what is the question? What is the question here?
Seeing a veset betoch veset, in other words, she has her regular period every 20, every 25, every 29. It's not regular. And all of a sudden she sees 12 days later, right? 20 days later.
So what's the question?
No. So that's.
She's Tom?
No, she is, of
She's
course.
Niddah.
No. So the question is now, how do we figure, her vesatot from now on? In other words, is that a real veset? Is that just a fluke? What are we concerned with right now? We just said that we don't have to concern ourselves with the oina beinonis coming up 10 days later. This is, Chof Nisan, because she had it. We assume that even if it's a drop, we will see later on there is something called an oines. A woman saw blood as a result of an oines. What is that? How does that count? It counts. In other words, we have to be concerned about it. Maybe she's going to have that. Who knows? Later on, a woman that does not have a veset kavua has to be concerned about all these days that may potentially happen. And if they do, they replace the old days. But now you have to start counting from that day. Now you have to be concerned about a new day. So here we have a day, Chof Nisan, that somehow got shoved in between. It's called Re'iyah Nosefet in the jargon of the Halacha. An additional Riyah that she was not meant to see. So Oina Beinonis, we hope she doesn't have to be worried about.
So we didn't expect on this particular
Right.
Now she's not on this
Right.
particular day.
Right.
So the next blood to happen.
Right.
Because she's expected.
Yeah.
Not till later.
Right. No, that's a whole. I was just preparing you that this detail.
I'm here.
Right. This detail will come up later on, and instead of getting carried away into something which is much later on, I'd rather just finish up the various vesatot here and where we left off. But I wanted to clarify that is one thing that we did not really touch on, and that is the haflaga. How does that in between re'iyah affect haflaga? Because we just answered that it does affect the oina beinonis, that there's no need to be concerned about oina beinonis. We treat this as a regular period. She saw it. She had it. She doesn't have to worry about the coming up 30 days on the 30th day. Now, but it's important to keep in mind that oina beinonis is not completely gone, which is another sugya.
Now, ordination is not something.
No, no, of course it's not personal.
Ordination, just saying, generally
Right.
speaking, a person has every so and so many
Right.
days. So it's nothing personal. Therefore, why would any person uproot?
Because
Since it's nothing personal anyway.
the question is, if she doesn't see on the 30th day, does that mean there's no such thing as oina beinonis
Well, it
anymore?
doesn't depend on her personal rule.
Exactly. So he has a very good description about that Shulchan, and I'm very happy that he wrote about this because it's not clear. If you read other Sforim in Hilchas Niddah, it's not clear how oina beinonis is uprooted. It's about, because Oina Beinan is, we mentioned last time, and I didn't elaborate too much on it, that's why I'm coming back to it, that there is one sheet at least that says you need 3 times to uproot it, if you recall. And that would mean that you would have to be concerned on the 30th, 60th, and 90th day of that same original time frame. And everybody else says, and the Shach says, Mapitom, in other words, why? Because Oina Beinanis appears to be a little bit like a Vesed Kavua, as we will see inside the Mechaber, but for a different reason. But it's not like a Vesed Kavua, it's just a certain concern that we watch out for a certain day, just like the day of the month, just like the Haflaga, and if it does not happen on that day, it's gone. But it's not gone in principle, like was saying. It's still something that we have to be choshish for, but the time has changed, the date has changed. It will be from the last Re'iyah. If she just saw on another day, well, her new Oina Beinanis will be 30 days from that last Re'iyah. So, Oina Beinanis is gone for now. In other words, that one day that she was supposed to see, that she did not see, is no longer the day she has to be concerned with. It's not a day that remains in place for 3 times, like a regular Besed Kavua is in place 3 times. If she sees every 28 days and she stopped seeing 3 times every 20, she has uprooted her Besed Kavua. Now, if she did not stop seeing 3 times, she stopped seeing once, but she did not just stop. She did see it on another day. There's a big difference. A woman who does not see, let's say she saw 3 times, she has a Besed Kavua, and all of a sudden she didn't see. Once, twice. Who knows? She didn't see. It could happen. She can come back to her original Vesed. She didn't uproot it. She's in an in-between stage. It's called Matzav Benaim in Hebrew, which means that next time around she doesn't have to be worried about it if she didn't see it 3 times. 3 times means that she's uprooted it, right? So she doesn't have to worry about it. That's what it means. But she's not seeing it in another day. She's just not seeing it. Therefore, she can come back to her original day. It hasn't been replaced with another day. So not seeing is not enough. It just means that you don't have to worry about it if you did not see it 3 times. Well, just once doesn't mean anything. Twice doesn't mean 3 times means it's gone, maybe. If it comes back to the original day because it was never uprooted or replaced by another day. A woman who has a Vesed She'eno Kavua always has to be concerned.
Now, let me ask you, if it comes back to the original day.
That's right.
Now, what if she didn't see?
Right.
And now she sees, but not on the what day, but on a different day.
Right, so that's very good. So that's what we were saying. What happens if a woman changes? She has a change. She's regular and she had a change. Now she's in trouble. Now,
after one time she's in trouble?
After one time. Why? Because now she has to be concerned about her regular period, plus the change.
So the regular is not uprooted?
It's not uprooted, yeah. Until it's uprooted, yeah.
And now if the next time she does see on the regular, doesn't have to worry about the...
she has to not see it on that day that she saw it.
She doesn't see
Remember, an event that is not regular, let's call it an event.
So that's an isolated...
A day. So the next time around, if she doesn't see it, she can say, okay, forget it.
She doesn't have to worry about it.
Only once. Once, yeah.
And the Vesed Kavua, now let's see the next time she's again, whatever, but not on the Vesed Kavua. How long does it take to Vesed Kavua at all?
3 times.
3 times she doesn't see, 3 times she sees a different day.
It has been replaced.
Then it has to be replaced.
It has been replaced.
And it has to have been replaced by something regular, or can it be around?
It could be definitely jumping around.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what.
And that's what we're going to be learning about right now. Okay. You know, there's all kinds of jumping around.
Now, the fact that she isn't 3 times at all is not a condition. Prudent. But if she saw 3 times, instead of not seeing 3 times at all,
right,
she jumps around. She saw 3 times jumping around. There was never a month when she didn't see, but on the last 3 months she saw it. It wasn't on the Vesed Kavua. So that would uproot as well.
Right. Even though there's no pattern.
No pattern.
Right. So in other words, she has become a woman that has now a Vesed She'eno Kavua. She's gone from Kavua to Ina Kavua.
So in other words, to uproot the Vesed Kavua, she has to in fact see 3 times in a row, not on the Vesed Kavua. But the 3 times that she sees is not on the Vesed Kavua.
Right.
Just the fact that she didn't see it all doesn't mean it.
It just means that she doesn't have to be choishish for it.
After 3 times.
Yes. Yeah, that's also possible. Yes.
Yeah,
a woman who did
or not.
Yes, a woman who did not see 3 times, but she did not see it on another day, has benefited from this, that she no longer has to be choishish for that day. But
it doesn't have to be choishish for a different day either.
Right. But because it's not replaced,
so if it happens one time.
If it happens one more time on that day and the old day, she's gone back to the old day, even once.
And even if she saw in between once that jumped around, or even twice that jumped around, and then in the same day, she doesn't need to be hoshish for them being around. She's back to now.
No, a woman who sees on a day always has to be choshesh. Remember, she's like a Basar. She has to be choshesh about that day.
The next time.
Yes, the next time around, always, no matter what. Yeah.
So once she sees on a different way than a kavua, as long as she hasn't uprooted the vesed kavua for 3 times in a row.
Right.
So if she sees another date, she'll always have 2.
Exactly.
The kavua and the other day.
Yeah, until
once.
Yeah, once. Once that day is gone, no problem. Yeah. All right. Now this oina beinonis, this time that comes every 30 days, we said that it's not like a vesed kavua. In other words, it can be replaced, but it is like a vesed kavua. How is it like a vesed kavua? That the Mechaber says, I'm skipping Siv Gimel for a moment, because in Siv Dalet, the Mechaber says that this oina beinonis is like a vesed kavua as far as if the 30th day went by and she did not check herself, she didn't feel anything, but she didn't check herself and she should have, then she cannot be with her husband until she checks herself. Because that's the halacha by a vesed kavua. The woman is expecting something to happen at a certain time. She didn't. She forgot. She didn't get around to it. Right? She didn't feel anything, see anything. Still, she has to check herself because we're expecting it. She cannot be with her husband intimately until she checks herself. With the vesed she'eno kavua, she didn't feel. She didn't see. Well, it could be it didn't happen that day because it's not kavua. So, but the evidence, it's okay if she doesn't see anything, even if she didn't check herself. But with oina beinonis, we don't say that. With oina beinonis, we treat that aspect of oina beinonis like a vesed kavua. Only that aspect. No. You can undo it with once, but she cannot be with her husband until she checks herself. If she didn't see it till then, it could still be she'll see it by the oina beinonis. If she didn't check herself, she better check herself. Now, we did explain that a woman who has a vesed kavua after the oina, let's say every 32 days, she doesn't have to be concerned about oina beinonis. She has a vesed kavua, even though it's after the 30 days. So what? She's always going to see it then. But there is a question that we raised: what happens if her vesed kavua is every 26 or 27 days? And for some reason she didn't see it this time. Does she have to now check on the 30th day? She has a vesed kavua. And Ramban, the Ran say, yeah, of course, she didn't see it. She may see it on the 30th day. And the Rashba says, no, this is a woman who has a vesed kavua. Oina beinonis is not for her. She doesn't need it. She doesn't have to be choishish. Anyway, but that's with the vesed kavua. What about the vesed she'ena? With the vesed she'ena kavua, let's say she never sees less than 32 days. After 32 days, it can happen any time. So the Chavas Das writes that she has to be concerned about oina beinonis. Why? Since she has no vesed kavua, oina beinonis relates to her. In other words, it's possible she may see under 32 days. No, even though she doesn't see under 32 days, still, she doesn't have a vesed kavua. She doesn't have that advantage of not having to be concerned about it. She has to check, just like any woman that has no vesed kavua. Obviously, if she saw it before, she saw it. If she had it on the 28th, then she doesn't have to worry about it. She saw it. She had it. And once she has it, I mean, she's unclean anyway. You know, she can't be with her husband whether she wants it or not. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll go into a little bit to the seifim, into the various types of vesatot. We covered the main principle behind how vesed works, especially vesed ha'aflogo. Vesed ha'aflogo meaning every so many days a woman can have her period. Now, in order to have a vesed ha'aflogo, what is one of the simple requirements is that she has seen it 4 times. Why 4? Because the first one doesn't count. In order to have a proper haflaga, you have to have a date where you start from. From that date that you start, you count. You see once, you count twice, you count 3 times. So you've had seen, or she would have seen 4 times in order to have 3 haflagas. Okay? And if those haflagas are equal, then she has a vesed kavua. But, as we will soon see, there could be all kinds of haflagas that are not exactly equal, nonetheless they're called haflaga. So Sif Gimel talks about in Kova Veset L'Shois. So we'll talk briefly about that. Some of these examples or scenarios are very difficult to understand. They're not so clear. There's different shittas about them. So I'll try to just simplify it because, I mean, if it ever comes up, I guess the individual will ask a question. So I don't know if it's that necessary to get into all the details, but just briefly, I'll go over as to what the meaning is or what exactly the scenario is. In Sif Gimel, the makor of this halacha is from the Ravad, and apparently he learned it from the Gemara. There was an incident in the Gemara with Rabbi Elyahu Kin. A woman, every time she came back from the mikveh, she had her period.
Wow.
And he determined that what was causing that was her coming into the city. It's when she came when she came home, that's when she had it. It was her anatomy, talking about anatomy, and the circumstances that would bring that about. And he says, you know what? And he told her, before you come home, be with your husband at the edge of the river. To avoid this happening. Okay. Anyway, so that was the Gemara there. You know, we have to look for creative solutions, try to figure out what's going on here. So anyway, so the Ravad apparently learned from that there could be a veset l'shaot for hours. And that's what shaot means. Im kav'a veset l'shaot, v'lo liyamim, but not on a particular day. She always sees at 1 p.m., which is strange. Okay. Now, some say that pshat is that it's not that she sees at a particular hour necessarily, it's after she has done something. She always sees at that same time. Somehow this is easier for them to understand pshat in the Gemara. In other words, if we're learning it from the Gemara, it's tied more to something taking place, not just to an hour of the day, an hour on the clock. All right, so there's some who learn like that. But simple pshat, the Mechaber just tells us in Kava Veset L'Shaot V'lo Liyamim. It's not on a particular day; it's only in a certain hour. Eina chosheshet ela sha'ata bilvad. All she has to be concerned about that hour. V'veset hazeh hu ne'ekar b'sha'a achat, and that veset can be uprooted in 1 hour. V'afilu below b'dika, even without checking. Very small seif, but not too easy to understand. What do you mean you can uproot it with 1 hour? What do you mean that she only has to be concerned about her just that hour? Well, since it's not on a set day, apparently why should she be concerned about an entire day? So Pashup Pshat, and this is I think how the Chazon Ish, the Chavas Das, how they learn Pshat here. We're talking about a Veset Shelo Kavua. She has it every so often. And that could be, of course, either every 24 days, every 26 days. It's not Kavua. Or it could be sometimes on the 4th day of the month, sometimes on the 6th day. In other words, whatever it is, it's not Kavua. And she's being choishish, of course, for that particular time frame. And there's a certain hour that she sees it. So what's the Chiddush here? The Chiddush here they want to say is that the Mechaber is saying that it's not so much that she has to be concerned only about the hour. It's more that if she did not see it on that hour, she doesn't have to be concerned for the rest of the day. You know, apparently what's meant here is that if she did not see it on that hour, I don't have to worry about it the rest of the day. It does not necessarily mean that if she did not see it at all, that the Veset was nekar legamre. Why? Because think about it. The Meforshim and the Poskim asks, how could Mechaber say that it's nekar altogether? If that day is not fixed, it could be she'll see it the next day. So why say that hours, just because she did not see it on a particular hour when she thought she would see it, it's gone. Why? Maybe she'll see it tomorrow morning, and tomorrow at that 1 p.m. So what is really being meant, what is really being expressed over here with Veset HaShois is that she only has to be concerned herself for that hour and not for the entire day. And if the hour comes and goes, it's gone. But not that the hour is gone forever, but it's gone for that day. She doesn't have to worry about a whole day.
Or just because she's not choshesh.
Only on those days that she has to be choishish.
Only on those days.
Those days that she has to be choishish, right. and it's only for 1 hour. But some say, why does the Mechaber say that it's nekar completely? Because he treats a veset of ours like a veset of kfitza. There is a veset, which we'll eventually learn a little bit more about, that a woman, every time she plays jump rope, she gets her veset. A veset that is not based on a time that comes back, but based on certain activities, is not a strong veset. It could be uprooted with once. She did it once and it didn't happen. So some say the reason why he was so lenient here is because he treats it like a veset of a kfitza. But as we said, that is a little bit difficult to say because maybe she might see another day here. So that's what the Chavaz Das says. It's not nekar completely. It's just that it's after that hour. She doesn't have to be concerned on that day. Some learned pshat that if she did not see it at 1 p.m. but she saw it that day instead at 8 p.m., that now she has to be choishish for the whole day, the whole oina, not just that 1 hour. That's what it means. With one change in that regular seeing it at 1 hour, she now, from now on, has to be concerned about the whole day. Okay, different pshatim on the akira, on how to be oiker, how to uproot that particular hour. But the poshup pshat, as far as the veset ashos, just means that she sees at a particular time, and that's the only time she has to be concerned about, at the very least. Only that hour. The question is what he meant by a veset hu nekar b'sha achas. It could be uprooted with 1 hour, with afilu b'loi b'dika. Okay. After all, it could be she'll see the next day. So it just means, at the very least, it means that she doesn't have to concern herself with the rest of the afternoon. If it didn't happen then, when she's supposed to see it, she's fine for the rest of the day. All right. Sif Daled, Oid yesh chiluk ben kavato gimel pamim lelo kavato. There's another difference, and as we already reviewed this, between whether she established 3 times or she did not establish 3 times. Shakavua, something that is established a regular period 3 times. Even though the time came by and she didn't feel anything. She cannot be intimate with her husband until she examines herself and she finds that she's clean. But if she did not examine herself, if she did not establish herself 3 times, if the time of the veset came, did not check herself, since the time went by and she didn't see anything, muteras, she's muteras. Once it's passed, once the time is passed, she's okay, b'di'evet. And oina beinanis, as we explained, which is every 30 days, dino kevese kavua, for this halacha, that she, even since it's oina beinanis, she has to check herself whether she wants it or not before she's with her husband. On this, there is an interesting taz. Kivan she'ovra oinosa muteres. He says, well, why did the Mechaber say this? He says in Siman Kuf Pei Vav, he paskin, when she's no veset, tzricha b'dika lifnei tashmi. In general, it says women need to check themselves if they don't have a veset kavua before tashmish. So he wants to say that kan mayri sheyesh la kvar veset, she already has some sort of veset, ela sheshinsach, so she changed the veset chadosho, and that new veset is not established yet, and because of that, he's a little bit lenient over here. So in other words, she already has some sort of veset, but the Meforshim, there's different explanations on this. The Meforshim don't really go along with what the Taz say. The Kudas Kesef explains, Ze'ino de mashma de mayre afilu betchilas kviusa. It appears that he's saying this halacha even at the very start, at the very beginning of establishing a new pattern. There's no veset at all. Nothing. We don't know what her story is. Therefore, she may be seeing at any moment, so she has to check herself. But it's not regular. She does have it every so often, but it's not exactly right. We know that she has it. So therefore, if she missed it, and she checked, she didn't see anything, then we don't have to be concerned that maybe she had it, but she forgot, she didn't see it, it's dried up. She didn't feel, she didn't see anything, she didn't get dirty, she probably didn't see it, she still may see it later on, right? So therefore, that's why the Mechaber here is being a little bit lenient. In other words, here we know she has a veset, but she should have checked herself, of course. She didn't. It's okay. But with oina beinanis, as we said before, it's more like a veset kavua in that respect, that she has to check herself before she's with her husband. Sif hey, פעמים שתהיה הפלוגה שקובעת בהם הווסת בדילוג. I'm going to go a little bit quickly through these because these are just different scenarios of various kinds of vesatot that are regular, but they jump or skip around. So sometimes you can have a hafloga, floga meaning a certain amount of time that went by between the first and the second time. Shekovas b'hem haveset, that it will be regular, but it's bedilug, skipping around. For example, you can go shelo saw hayom, she saw today. V'roso shenis lesoif lamed, she saw it the second time around after 30 days. The third time around shlishi, she saw lelamed aleph on the 31st. Urevi's on the fourth time she saw it on lelamed beis. You see the skip? 30, 31, 32, plus the first time. So it's not always on the 30, it's 30, 31, 32, but that's the pattern. Well, yeah, kava vesed ledilug, shlaflogos, exactly. There's different kinds. We will see. Some of them are continuous, and some of them have that pattern that come back.
So repeating.
It will be repeating skip pattern, right? So we will see. So here we're just talking about that. That's the skip, and that's what she has to be concerned about. That she is skipping. She's in the process of skipping.
Does that exempt her for having to look at 30, 31?
No, this is Veset Kavua.
So then the next time she has to look 33.
No, the next one, right?
So
yeah, 33.
Only 3.
Right, it continues on. It continues on.
So it exempts look on the one.
Yeah, exactly. Because here we're talking about.
It's not that in addition she has
it's kovad. It's kovad by him, exactly.
Now 30.
Right, kava Veset ledilug shel aflogos, ben shirchika dilugo harbe ben shelo yirchika leyom echad. And however the pattern is, it is established. It could be 30, 33, 36, 39. It could be 30, 30, 32. It makes no difference. It could be more. It could be less. You can establish such a.
So now I'm curious.
Such a diluk.
There is no.
There is.
I'm saying
right.
In instance, there's no pattern. It just goes back and forth. Whether with today's computer, make it such a diluk pattern.
Right.
So then to an unsuspecting observer that is just jumping randomly back in analytical tools in the computer, I would be able to detect maybe a fractal type of pattern or
could
something.
Be.
Would that establish also? Would that be sufficient to as he saw? And the computer will calculate.
We'll analyze it, huh?
It could be. We'll have to detect.
I don't think humans are so precise.
No, but computers are the same. But computer, you don't know why the patterns are there. It's not because they're there. You just them because they're.
You may be able to.
So you could have. That's why they use data.
Yeah.
Because there are patterns in the data that, if you just look at it, to analyze it, find patterns in this data that can be.
Yeah, it could be. It will be a tool to help.
You might be able to find patterns that you will be able to.
Could be. Yeah. Yes. Sivov, Keshem shekovaz vesed be'aflogo miyomim shovim, in the same way that she can establish a vesed aflogo with equal amount of days, v'she'enam shovim, some that are not equal, right? They skip around. Kach kovaz b'mei hachodesh u'b'mei hashavua shovim v'she'enam shovim. It could also be a pattern that is seen in the month and in the days of the week. Keitzad, for example, Rosa Gimel Pomim be'echad b'Shabbos. She saw 3 times on Sunday, or on Behei b'Shabbos on Thursday. Or be'echad b'Nisan, be'echad be'Iyar, be'echad be'Sivan, or she saw on the first day of Nisan, and then Iyar, and then Sivan, the first day of the month, or be'hei b'Nisan, be'hei be'Iyar, be'hei be'Sivan, or the 5th day of Nisan, 5th day of Iyar, 5th day of Sivan, Kavala vesed be'echad b'Shabbos, so she's established herself a sort of vesed on a Sunday or on a Thursday, or in the beginning, the first day of the month, or the 5th day of the month. Even though 1 month may be full, 1 month may not be full, makes no difference. It is possible that a woman should establish herself a pattern like that. Interesting.
So actually, back to my question.
I wonder if, I'm really curious, I mean, I didn't check it out, if anybody has those kinds today.
But what my question could be that.
Right, okay.
But my question really is pattern. Would that qualify as a pattern?
Well, that's a tool. The computer is just a tool.
Right. But let's say
instead of doing it by hand, you notice that there is a pattern, some sort of pattern. That's what Machaber is saying. There's all kinds of patterns.
The computer knows a formula.
Right.
By whatever.
Yeah. Listen, all it takes is 3 times. 3 times is a chazaka. 3 times is strong. 3 times means that there is a pattern. 3.
Yeah, if you,
not 10.
If you have a simple repeats itself after
Right.
3 times,
Right, so-
you're lucky.
Right.
But you might have a pattern where you need to feed the computer to correctly forecast the 11.
Yeah, well, it would have to be statistical.
Yeah, so but then it would qualify, even though it was not something in its remarkable.
It could be.
Powers
It could be. Yeah, it could be, because after a while, if you see a pattern, even if, like the Mechaber said, even if it's over a long period of time, and we will see that there is a pattern over a year too, that may be possible. And sometimes a computer would help you see that.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
When,
You gonna make a program for it? Write the algorithm?
on these things.
Yes.
So flooders?
They have to keep track of. They have to keep track of them, because there may be a pattern after a while.
So they would have to keep it.
Right. Yeah.
That's under they haven't detected a pattern.
And they don't really. I
don't
don't
do
think.
that.
I don't think many men will notice a pattern if they're not very regular, because
You have to
some
be highly
they get pregnant,
reminded.
they travel. There's so many things that throws off the patterns that because of that, I don't think that there's
Yeah, there would be
too many patterns.
Today.
Yeah, especially today. Yeah. Yeah, but it's fascinating how the human body can have a certain rhythm or a certain. It's like a clock.
The heartbeat taking time.
No, but you see it
chemical
exactly.
processes take certain
Very true.
times, the stars and whatever. Moon maybe
Even
happen.
sleep. Just think about sleep. If you sleep at a certain get up at a certain hour, you don't have an alarm clock. You'll get up at that hour. The body just knows to get up, right? I mean, you know about this. Yeah, and people who wake up early, you probably too.
Yes.
Right? Boop.
Provided I go to at the right time.
At the right time, yeah. Otherwise, you're overtired sometimes.
If I were
Yeah.
later-
So it's interesting, and that's what jet lag is all about. Because we are programmed, have been regulated our bodies, to work in a certain way, and now we're off.
But now an interesting thing is that they work at night.
Right.
Work at night and sleep during the detrimental results on their health.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that goes to show you that there is some pattern
Right.
that if you do its needs,
Yeah.
then it's not just not that flexible the way you want without having some kind of.
We know that medically changes shift and pattern in behavior.
Yeah.
Even if you look at 20, 30, 40 years. Certain shifting patterns
Yeah.
does cause problems.
Yeah.
There
Definitely.
was the gospel,
Yeah.
say any hours before.
Yeah, he
Could be.
did, and he was Austrian. The question is how.
Miller is the
Yeah.
and used
Sure.
to say nap and longs the light. Nap during
Well,
the day.
didn't they say you can't really make up sleep? But it does help to nap because the body needs to physically
it's
rest.
interesting. They
There
found
are people who
Yes.
was
Right.
a
Uh huh.
and he developed hard life growing up.
Yeah.
And he was sleeping short. He was 92.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about sleep. There's always.
No, but they adapt their bodies
Right.
to work with that shift. And the whole side.
There's an interestingly, they just found that they just published a statistic during the day correlates to a.
Yeah.
What they don't know is it because the napping is detrimental to the health?
So the answer is just keep up with the caffeine during the day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, let's just see a little bit more here. Siv Zayin, Ketzat Kovat B'mei HaChodesh B'dilug. How can she establish a pattern in the days of the month? But it's the days of the month B'dilug, skipping around. כגון שראתה בט"ו בניסן וט"ז באייר וי"ז בסיוון. So she sees on the 15th of Nisan, 16th of Iyar, 17th of Sivan. לא קבעה וסת עד שתראה בי"ח בתמוז. She still needs a fourth time.
Because the first time wasn't.
Doesn't count. So that's machloikes, but that's what the Mechaber here is choosing to go with. That you need the 4 times, and the 4th time is the 8th of Tammuz. She'ein re'iyah rishon, as he explains, the first one mitztarefet, it does not count, it's not combined. Kiva she'ein ha'aflogos shovos, you need to have a flogos shovos, and they're not. You have to have the time in between. Umiu imayala veset kodem. However, the Mechaber wants to say if she did have some sort of veset before she started the skipping. Imayala veset kodem she'tchil v'chakach shinta, and she saw it at a different time. But also betilu gimel pamim. Then it's enough. Then kava veset bedilug lefi she'af harishona bedilug also oisilgu me veset agavu alo. Because even the first one was considered part of this whole skip. In other words, we included 2. because she skipped from her original Veset to whatever it is right now. So therefore, in that case, if she had a Veset Kavua before, that would be one of the four. He brings here the second opinion. Some say even though she just saw those 3 dates, the Tavir and Yud Zayin B'Sivan, Kava Veset, and Chosheshes, she can already be Choshesh the Yud Ches B'Tamuz v'Yud Tes B'Av v'Chen La'olam. She will be concerned from now on for the 18th of Tammuz, the 19th of Av, and like this forever. So, since there is a shita like that holds that with 3 times it's enough, Mechaber says you should be concerned about them, about that shita, and be machmir. How are you machmir here? You're machmir here in the sense that you have to be concerned now with 2 days. You have to be concerned that the first one you still have the haflaga. The Rashach brings down the Bach. Because the Haino Lochush lechumra zeh v'zeh, b'hilka chosheshes leveset the haflaga shekova bebeis be'omim. V'omrin and the lo kova adayin veset adilog, because in the very beginning we say she didn't really have yet the dilog. All she had was a haflaga. Because once you have a dilog, you don't have to be concerned about haflagas. That's all you have. You only go by one. You don't go by 2 kinds. But if you have to be concerned about this opinion holds 3 times, well, maybe it's really already, maybe it's really not enough. And I have to consider that I'm really dealing still with a haflaga, a certain amount of days that transpired. So some say that you would have to be machmir here and consider both. All right, I think this is a good place to stop. Hashem will continue next.